Hey everyone, hi, welcome or welcome back. Oh my gosh, I am so excited to talk with you. Wow, okay, we've got a lot to talk about, or a handful of things to talk about, but all of the things have a lot of context. So, yay. So, buckle up, I guess, because I think this is going to be a fun one. I'm going to be talking about 4 things I'm extremely obsessed with. The first is a seismic shift in my reading that I've noticed and I want to share with you. It's something new, it's something kind of interesting that I think, and maybe you've noticed a seismic shift in your reading as well. Like when something changes, and it's not just this dramatic change, but it slowly has been occurring over the last couple of weeks or maybe couple of months, and all of a sudden you notice it, like it comes to the forefront of your mind, and you're like, oh yeah, something has changed, and so that's how I feel about my reading thing. The other thing is something that's new that I feel utterly obsessed with. And then also, additionally, a habit. The obsession is, these are more things or lifestyle, I suppose. And then the last thing is something that I'm dreaming about. I really want, like WANT. I want it so bad, right? So I'm crinkling. If you don't know me, then my name is Shelly. You have stumbled upon a channel in which I am your host. That feels really weird because I think of this as like, a friendly chat. Anyways, you and this channel is where I talk about mostly books and reading, and I'll tell you things in context so that you know, but some things have happened recently that I want to share, and I figured this is a good way to share, though it's not all about this one thing. Anyway, we're going to get into it. If you're not yet subscribed and you're liking the chaotic vibes, I would encourage you to maybe subscribe, but without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. I was thinking that my hair looked cute. Now I'm thinking my hair looks kind of ragged. Okay, I don't know. I'm like, okay, so obsession number 1 is the fact that I'll tell it to you. I'm going to tell it to you in the way that I was, and then how I've changed, okay? So, when I was once speaking with Fraser, I think it was either on a Tops and Flops or it was just on a Zoom call in which we hung out and we didn't film it, because that happens too occasionally. Or maybe it was during book club. Fraser is my booktube bestie. He's wonderful. He's so wonderful. And one time, and he's done this, as friends do, like he noticed something and articulated something about me that I had yet to notice about myself, and was so like spot on that it sort of surprised me. And the thing that he said was, you're the kind of reader, or, we were talking about reading, and he was like, oh, well, you tend to read, authors' high points. You don't dive into their full collections. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess I do. Like, if I am reading a particular author, I want to just read their best, and then I'll move on to another author and just read their best. I don't typically dive into whole bodies of work, and that has been more or less true. I mean, it's not a hard and fast rule, but it was the general guideline of my reading for many, many years. And recently, it started particularly with Curtis Sittenfeld, which, if you're so sorry, if you've heard me talk about her in the last several weeks, sorry, not sorry kind of thing, because I have been really enjoying all of her works, even when they're not very good. And so it didn't just start with Curtis, but I feel like that's the most prominent example. Curtis, as if we were friends. That I started just reading Curtis Sittenfeld, and I wanted to read more from her, and I sort of had to break myself away from her back catalog, in order to read something else, even though I was like very much in it with her. And it was interesting because even when I read middling things by her, mostly Eligible, I really didn't love Eligible. When I ended up reading middling things by her, namely eligible, whereas the other books I've read were pretty good. I mean, in some cases, brilliant and really, really good. I noticed that I started to think about Curtis in a different way, like her artistic body of work, and maybe why this one didn't work, and why was this book so, why did it feel so different? And, I have my own answers, but that's not what this is about. I gained so much pleasure from trying to understand Curtis's works as a whole rather than just reading a book by her or maybe two books by her and then moving on and not fully understanding or not sort of getting a more organic and holistic understanding of her writing style and when she breaks away from that writing style. And I guess I'm just going to shift. I was going to keep on going, but instead, and I've wanted to do that with other authors. So moving forward, I think really this whole year, and now that I'm sort of contextualizing this year through this experience with Curtis Sittenfeld, I realized that I have been doing more reading from authors I've read before, and I'm often thinking about authors I want to read again. And I even made a video about authors that I would, dodge or ditch or flirt with or book a second date from. And maybe it was that video. I just talked about authors in terms of dates. How would I feel? Would I want to ghost them, just drop them and never want to speak to them ever again and pretend like the date never happened? Or would I want to, sort of maybe kind of flirt with scheduling a second date or read something else by them? Or, am I just so excited to read something else by this author? And it's just interesting because even though I might have a middling experience with a book, I have been enjoying getting to know an author more holistically. More in this way in which I can see what their body of work is trying to say and what that body of work says about them, the author themselves. And so that's been interesting. So as I've been moving forward, I'm the goal is to read more from authors I've read before. So I read Emma Donohue's latest book, The Paris Express. I did a whole video about that. But it was interesting as I made that video, I could compare it to other works that I'd read by her, which I thought was really fascinating. And I have recently finished a book by May Sarton, and I have another book on the go by May Sarton that I'm really enjoying. And so it's interesting, to have this shift, this complete change in myself, in my reading, which I'm finding very fascinating. Okay, so the second thing, that was my bookish thing. The second thing is that I broke my phone. No, that is not true. Again, we're starting off on rocky footing. I had a iPhone 12 mini. It was one of the small little iPhones, and it had been acting janky for a couple of months. And the clincher, the nail in its coffin, was I would have it on, I would get up in the morning, and by 9 o'clock, it would rapidly die. It would go from 60%, which is not great for 9 in the morning, especially if I'm not really on it. It would go from 60% and then just rapidly die, shut itself off. And when I powered the phone back on, it was at 5%. And when I went to the cell phone store, they told me that that's because the battery was dying. And in the cell phone store, when I really got to look at my phone without the phone case on it, I had noticed that the battery was swelling. And apparently when your battery is swelling and when it's rapidly dying like that, that the battery is going. It's done. It's kaput. And so I needed to get a new phone. And what is not making me happy is not the new phone. The new phone is fine. In some ways, it's the same relationship I had with my old phone. And oh my gosh, and someone, okay. I'm life things are happening and I want to be with you. Okay, so, what happened? Okay, so my cell phone, I got a new cell phone And actually, right before my 12 mini died, I was researching Bailey Hikawa phone cases. She has these ergonomically correct or ergonomically comfortable phone cases so that you can be on your phone and your fingers are not all like scrunched up on this little tiny flat device. And when I had researched her phone cases, the only ones that she had for her 12 minis were special edition, and they costed hundreds of dollars, like a couple $100. And I was like, I cannot spend that on this phone. So I was like, it's fine. So I had to get a new phone, and that means I could get a Bailey Hikawa phone case. And here is what it looks like. Ah! Oh my gosh, is it not cool? Like, you can hold it like this, and you can hold it like this, and it's kind of big and bulky, and I kind of love it. And you can text, and when you're on the phone, you're like this, or you can even just this. And honestly, when I'm on the phone, anyways, for a very long amount of time, I put in my headphones, and I put in my wireless headphones, so I can walk around and have my cell phone just, I don't know, sitting on a table while I'm doing kitchen work, and I'm not like on my phone, right? So it's that. Now, like, I love this phone so much that people at work are asking me about my phone case because they say they heard about it from their child, and their child for whom I teach, right? So I'm like, I love my phone case, okay? And it's just, oh, I love it so much. So the Bailey Hikawa phone, and I know, I'm having a glowing relationship with the phone case because I've only had it for about a week, okay? So I'm just like, I love it so much. So I think it will be a good and a long and healthy relationship. That's what the hope is, right? Now, a friend / coworker of mine, he pointed out that you can't put the cell phone in your pocket, and it is clumpy in the pocket. Like, if I wear jeans, and I tend to wear like looser fitting jeans, I would put it in there, and yeah, is it not going to look as flat and smooth as, I don't know, like your cell phone, right? Or a cell phone with a really slim case. Sure. It's not going to, right? And the friend who keeps on teasing me about the phone case also mentioned, well, I think he also has mentioned the phone case because his shorts are like gym shorts. Like, he's our gym teacher, so he wears gym shorts. So really for him, it would be this like big, bulky thing. Like, you couldn't put it in your pocket. For me though, I am okay with not having my I'm trying to figure out ways to have my cell phone on me less. And so this is just like, I set it on my desk. It's sitting there like all like so. I go do library stuff. I teach a class. And I'll even like go on a little walk in our parking lot, and I won't take my phone because I have my watch and it tells me the time, all this stuff, right? So it's there. And so I'm kind of like looking for ways to have my phone around me less, and so it's working out. And I have like gone on a walk with it, and I just sort of, I tuck it under my arm. And is it the most I don't know, is it the most perfect solution? No, but I love this phone case so much. I love it. So here I am, I'm just like on my phone, and this is what I'm on my phone typing back out responses, and I'm just in love, right? So this is the phone case. All right, then, speaking of walking, I've made a couple of short videos, and I have been making a concerted effort, and I mean true effort, to walk about 12,000 steps every day. And the thing is that I had watched Samantha March, who I actually got to meet in person, which was incredible, amazing. She's just as sweet as she is online. She's like even more just charming and kind and wonderful in real life than she is even on her channel. Anyways, she made a whole video about how she started walking 12,000 steps and how that was really healing to her body. And I watched that video just right at the right time for me, because I have this new job where I am working, I'm working, but I'm taking a drive to work. I drive about 35 minutes to work and 35 minutes home. And so I have less time in between when my school day ends and being home before I have to like start dinner or figure out dinner or do like evening routine. All of a sudden, that time is shortened by quite a bit, like 35, 40 minutes. And sometimes we hit traffic. And so usually during that time, I would typically work out. And I haven't had the opportunity, nor have I made the opportunity to really work out intentionally. And I'm like, working out is really important for me. It's important for just my overall general sense of health and feelings about my being in my body, inhabiting my body, my confidence. And just like, it's just overall, everything is improved when I'm working out, even ever so slightly, even for like 10 minutes a day. Like everything is improved. And so I was like, man, like I am really missing a workout routine. So I watched Sam's video about how she fits in 12,000 steps. And she said, we do the things that are important to us. And at that same time, I ran into a colleague and she said on my lunch break, I tend to do a mile walk right after her lunch. Right after eating lunch, she walks about a mile. And I was like, oh, I can do that. Like I could totally do that. I have the scheduling space to do that. And so I was like, I'm gonna do that. Like I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna start walking. And so a couple of weeks ago, I started walking, and I will sometimes walk in my tennis shoes. The goal is to do 1 mile outside, and that usually can get me where I need to go in terms of 12,000 steps, because I naturally walk about 8,000 to 9,000 steps in my workplace, which to some people that's a lot, to some people that's a little bit. It just really depends on like your activity level and such. So I thought that was actually pretty good. I was like, wow, I already naturally walk about 8,000 steps, 8,000 to 9,000. So I really need to get in about like 3,000 more steps. And so in the mornings typically, or whenever I can, if I have a couple of minutes, like about 15 minutes, I will do about a mile. And I don't walk a 15-minute mile. I walk more of like an 18 or 20-minute mile. Like that's the normal walking pace. And some of the things of vanity, like, do I get a little bit sweaty, or do I glisten a little bit? Yes I do. But you know what? Then I cool off because my job is indoors and I glisten a little less. And I am so satisfied with keeping my watch on and like the steps that I take. I get so excited when I hit my goal. And so even right now, I have walked exactly 12,000 steps, y'all. That is so satisfying. Yeah, it's like straight up 12,000 steps. I doubt you can see it, but there it is, 12,000. And that's great. And so then if I'm doing that on the weekdays, and on the weekend, I'll try and take a really long walk about long for me, right? Like 2.5 to 3 miles. And I usually take Harry, and that's been our routine. And so I have been loving it. And what's interesting is that I'm now becoming the teacher with the really cool phone case and the teacher that walks. And at times I can be a very like intense walker. So here I am like going, I'm just going, and it makes me feel good, but it also helps me like free up some time in my evenings, because because I'm getting home a little bit later, the whole getting things, like getting myself changed so I could do a workout on my spin bike, it's just not been sustainable for me. And this way it feels like it's more sustainable if I'm finding little pockets of time where I can just do 2 or 3 laps in our parking lot for 7 minutes, and I can do that 3 times a day. It's not, it's more sustainable than it is to be like, I'm going to come home and do like a 40-minute workout, and then I miss that window, and it's like, okay, that's 1 day. Tomorrow I'm going to do that, and then I miss 1 day, and then I'm like, okay, that's 2 days I've missed. And now it's like, okay, so maybe I didn't make quite 12,000 steps when I'm doing the step thing. Maybe I made 10,500. It's okay. Tomorrow I'm just going to make more of an effort to do a couple more laps, or to take Harry for a walk after dinner, or to just all these little things, right, that you can try and do to just boost your step count. And that has been so nice. It's been so nice. All right, the last thing is the thing that I want. Like I want, and it's not a book. It is a thing. So I was invited to Creators and Friends amazingly. And I tried to make a couple of videos about it, and I think I was so overwhelmed, and I was so like in the middle of processing what the trip meant and all of that, that it was just like, it was a lot. It was just a lot. But Creators and Friends is an influencer retreat for influencers, ran by influencers, or created by influencers. And the two influencers that created it are Simbri from the Instagram. Her social media is Simbri Thanks. And Samantha March, or Sam, who already mentioned about her walking video. Samantha March, Samantha March. She's Samantha March everywhere. On YouTube, on Instagram. I think she has TikTok. I don't have TikTok, so I don't know. And what was interesting is that I got an invite. Later I found out that Simbri is a fan of this channel, which blew me away. I felt incredibly shy about it. I was so shy about it. And then like I also like equally as shy, I went up to her and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you like my channel. I was so like nerdy and I felt very awkward about it. But you know what? We're just going to move on from that moment. So I got invited because Simbri somehow found my channel and she invited me to hang out on this retreat. And so since it's ran by influencers for influencers, they get different brands to sponsor different things in the house. So a brand, like a skincare brand named Undefined Beauty, sponsored a brunch. So they, I'm guessing that they purchased the brunch, and they had their products out, and they gave us an educational session about their products. Actually, unfortunately, the owner of Undefined Beauty was sick, and so she didn't actually get to come, but the products were there. We got to talk about the products, test the products, take some home, and it was little pockets of that all over the house. There were certain brands that sponsored our beverages, which that's what I'm going to talk about next. There were certain brands that gave us all yoga outfits, and then we took a yoga class, and we do not have to post about it, and we do not need to talk about the brands. It is more of an experience to meet other creators who do this weird work and who show up on the internet talking to their imaginary friends. And it's a way to get us all together to hang out, to meet, to feel less isolated and alone in this like interesting genre of friendship, I guess, like 21st century friendship. So I was the only book person. Everyone else was makeup or beauty, or there was like a woman who talks about tech. So there's a bunch of different types of creators. Vast majority though is beauty. Okay. And so, you know, I felt a little bit, I felt a little out of my depth, but it was in some ways, I was so grateful. I mean, I was incredibly grateful to be there, and I didn't care that I was a little bit out of my depth, right? So, we're on this trip. I am tired. It's in the Catskills in New York. That's where we went to the retreat, and I had never been there, and it was beautiful. The train ride up, it was like we were along, I guess probably the Hudson River, but I don't know for sure. The Amtrak up, we took it, and there was water on one side, which was just beautiful. The seasons were changing. It was so lovely to be like out of the house, to be with lovely people. And with all of this like excitement, of course, I'm like not getting as much sleep as I normally would, not getting as much rest as I normally would. And I was okay. And one of the things that saved my hiney was this Element electrolyte pack. Yes. Well, also laying down on the bed for like an hour a day, even if I didn't fall asleep, was really nice. But this the letters LMNT, Element. And it's an electrolyte powder, and it's actually quite salty. And when I first tried it, it sort of took me back because there's that muscle right here that makes you that sour face, or that sour muscle that gets, Ted knows the name, I do not. Anyways, it makes your like little jaw sort of like hinge a little bit, makes you make the face, pucker face. But it's quite salty, and it's not sour like a lemon, but it just has like a little bit of like a bitter sweet. It's like sweetly bitter and salty together. I loved it. Maybe bitter is not the right word. Maybe it's like salty sweet. But because, yeah, but it is kind of, it's got a little bit of sourness to it. Oh my gosh, I drink pack after pack after pack after pack of these. And then I looked it up on Amazon and I was like, oh, it's like, I don't know, 30, 24 or something like that for $45. So I want it, but I feel like it's a teeny bit of a splurge, but I think eventually I will get it. And meanwhile, I have this relic of my trip, the thing that kept me hydrated and sane, because when I drink a lot of water, it makes me feel so much better, which we all know. But I'm like living experience of that. The more water I drink, the better I feel in a lot of ways. And so, you know, I drank just like a ton of this. And so I was like the little Element cheerleader. I loved it so much. So, I don't think the Bailey Hikawa phone case, every once in a while someone's like, do you have links? So I'm going to try and link what I can. I cannot link to Walking. You just got to do that. But I might be able to link to Element. If I can link to Bailey Hikawa, I'll try and do that. But I think it's just like a tiny little brand. And what was the first thing? Oh, reading more of people you already love. That's just something you can do like right now, like walking. If you can, if you're able. So, yeah, that's it. Just like, I'm like the new face of Element here. Love it so much. And are they paying me to say this? No, I didn't have to talk about anything that the trip had, the sponsors of the trip. Like, it's like they hope that we'll talk about it. But organically, of the sponsors, I was like walking away feeling like, oh my gosh, Element has changed my life. Oh my gosh, I feel like such a nerd talking about it. Okay, that's it. Thank you for hanging out. If you've discovered things, if there are new habits, new things that you've been loving recently, please let me know. I'd really love to know. But mostly, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here and hanging out with me. I appreciate you so much. And I hope to see you all in my next one. Bye.